we do when we look at the ballot. So this is the arena with no regard to what it was to do in the machine. We call it the stadium, the arena. Then when you go to the presidential area, we call that the football field. That one happens to be the Super Bowl field, I think we can agree. And you have other ones that are the state and college and local levels. And then all of them have a game ball in play. I have no regard for the smoke and mirrors of how the machines work, the hidden stuff in the code, or how this machine's supposed to be programmed. If the machine worked according to programming, none of us would be standing here. We're here because something broke. And so I'm saying, I don't care about the machine. I don't even care about the code that was written in the machine. What I care about is that physical artifact. And you know what? That physical artifact has material differences from district to district that should not be there. Now, we can all talk about, well, it's scan lines and it's this. You know, as a mechanical engineer, that doesn't create a scan line, period. That's not what creates the scan line. So, bottom line is we have differences in ballots that shouldn't be there. Why are they there? That's why I said earlier, I'm not talking about code, because that's how this process gets derailed. That's how the smoke and mirrors happens, and nobody's get to it. Please, let's go to the bottom. So we use that as the stadium, and we have the football field, and we have the ovals. We're only looking for it. Let's keep on going forward. Here's what does matter. You as a mechanical engineer can understand this. There's the sighting device. That is the item that tells the optical eye, technically, although in mechanical engineering speak, it's not a singular eye anymore, but we'll just use that as an example. That's telling the sighting device where to look. You, as a mechanical engineer, knowing forensic, knowing dollars, writing codes, doing whatever, you yourself know that when it doesn't line up, the machine doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. It's the difference between pulling your dollar bill out like this and looking at it, pulling the same dollar bill but doing it cross-eyed. One of them doesn't make sense. One of them doesn't look at the same thing the other thing does. That's why this paper is a piece of code. So, we don't care about the scan lines, we don't care about the resolution, we don't care about any of that. We care about the piece of paper. And if you're looking at the bullseye, can we draw that up and try to keep them both in frame? Just the targets on the bottom. There you go. If we're looking at the bullseye, the very thing that says, hey, look here. Well, the left one's saying, look in my yard, and the right one's saying, look 2 houses over. But you know what? The ovals never moved, because they were printed hard. So even as a mechanical engineer, or photography, or optics, or camera, when you expect to take a picture and you hold it at somebody, you're not trying to photograph 2 people over. And this is what it tells the machine to do. This is a problem at the most lowest elementary level. And the number one way it's cloaked, well, we can't see it in the code. We don't know how it's done. Show me the code that does it. Well, that's the code. That's the code. Any printer industry executive, any monetary printing executive, any engineer in the world that deals with printing will tell you this simple fact. If your machine is not calibrated to hit the target, it becomes something else. So if we talk about machines and we talk about code, it is a smoke and mirrors not to deal with what's real and physical. Here's my contention. This is the historical artifact of a voter. And states are telling voters, you have no right to that. The very voter that pays your salary, that paid for that ballot, that paid for that piece of paper, and paid for the machine that you're running it in. And so those people that pay your salary, that you work for and do this for, you're telling them you can't look at them. That is both unacceptable and un-American. What I'm saying is, all of these problems you've heard today can be corrected and detected now by the simplest of things. It takes you days or weeks to recount votes. Give me these 500,000 ballots. We'll have them done in 2 hours. How can you complain? What is there to hide with the physical artifact of the human interaction that is putting people in office? That is unacceptable, un-American, and to talk about it any other way is smoke and mirrors, is geek gobbledygook. We want to know if these ballots are authentic or counterfeit. We want to make sure every vote is verified. This is not about President Donald J. Trump or President-elect Joe Biden. This is about, are we still a country where your vote matters? One person, one vote. If you refuse to allow the ballots to be examined, the ballots, not the smoke and mirrors, but the ballots, let the machine look at it, not the voting machine that already messed up. Machines do what you tell them. You just have it look at that and verify the vote. There's only one element that will do that. The historical artifact of the people of the United States of America, and here, the people of the state of Georgia. They trusted you that this was right. They trusted you that your vote would matter. They trusted you, I have a voice and I want my voice counted. That is only that piece of paper. It is unforgivable for somebody to be able to audit something and then the original one disappears. How convenient. You know, if you did it in your company as a mechanical engineer and you had your CPA do it or your financial guy, you'd fire them. And that's just one little bitty company. But yet we accept this as a nation? Unacceptable, un-American. So our technology can answer every bit of these. If you want to roll up, I don't even know if there's any more. So let's look at this. Here's what I have a problem with, is simplest state. This is the county's statement on ballots. Went out on national TV. We had 113,130 votes at the time, and we had to adjudicate 106,000 of them. You know what that's really saying? Your machine didn't work. When the national average for the last elections, 2016, was what? 1.2%. That's an audited number. 1.2% of the total had to be adjudicated. And then you look at 2018, nationally, 2.7%. But yet your own election officials said we had to do this 93.6% of the time. Let me decode that for you. Mr. Mechanical Engineer, your machine doesn't work. Mr. Printer, your ballot's screwed up. Because you took something that should have been transparent and easy and readable and you put an opinion smack dab in the middle of it. How is that acceptable? That's like depositing $100 and your bank says, well, we only see it as $2.33. That's our opinion of it. Would you accept that? Because that's the net effect of this. No, it is unacceptable. And by the way, where everybody talks about back scanning, which you have on video, people standing there feeding the ballots, doing the 3-card Monty, run them again. 1-card Monty, run them again. Let me tell you how that works, right? You don't go to the bank and deposit $1,000 and say, hand it back. Let me run the same $1,000 through, and now you got a $2,000 net deposit. And you don't say, hand that $1,000 back, let me run it again, and now I got a $3,000 net deposit. We also don't take our $600 stimulus check and feed it to a Dominion machine because we get $187,000 back. Unacceptable. Now, you might be able to accept these and everybody might try to talk quietly about it and duck their heads in the sand. This is not even a beating of a drum. This is a burning of a city. This is a broadcasting to every person who voted in Georgia. Your vote doesn't matter because we're going to decide what you really meant. So I'm up here saying I don't care what anybody's background is. You know why? It's 100% irrelevant. I only care what that piece of paper tells us. And I'm not going to listen to anybody else. You know why? Because I'm not going to be talked out of the historical artifact that the person expressed. That is the only thing that matters, not your opinion of how these machines work. It doesn't matter at all. That is just an opinion, and we all got one. The fact is the paper. The paper. Verify the vote. Verify the vote. The paper. The paper. I don't care about the councils or committees. I'm sorry. And in case you can tell, I'm not going to bow to it. I do care about the American people. I do not care how the vote comes down. I do care that it counts right. I do care that it's authentic. Our country was founded on a piece of paper. Our laws and our word came down to us on paper. And all of a sudden we're going to hide the paper and we don't get to look at it? Unacceptable. That is the word.
Thank you, Mr. Pulitzer. I've got a lot more witnesses, and I appreciate you. Unless there are any questions.
Any questions?
I think there was a well-coordinated effort with several groups to commit widespread and systemic fraud from out-of-state voters, felons voting, and drop boxes, chain of custody, and now finding out the Dominion machines didn't scan from her testimony. But I think the real fraud, in my opinion, occurred at the State Farm Arena. Did you see that video?
Yes, sir.
I cannot think that there was not fraud there. And I would tell you, my question to you is, if we were able to subpoena those ballots between 10:30 and 1 a.m., would you be able to tell if they were counterfeit or legitimate? And if you were, what probability would you be able to tell that? I mean, what would be the probability of your...
This is 100%, and let me tell you why it's 100%. First off, this is a combination of computer vision. Computer visions are now how your car self-drives. And you trust that? It's how we look at everything on an assembly line, that those tolerances for that jet engine are perfect so that plane does not fall out of the sky. That's all computer vision. Machine learning is looking at these patterns and going, I've seen this. What does it mean? I've seen this. What does it mean? So every time you feed in the ballot, it keeps on learning. And then it uses artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence goes, wow, what do all these patterns tell us? That's it. And so on those ballots, you could take a section of every hour of the day and look at them, or you could take that spike. What could we tell? Was this the real ballot? Did you know there is a forensic difference between a ballot that was officially printed and something that ran on a high-speed press that should have never been on a duplicated press? This is why people are screaming to look at the physical ballot, because we will tell you instantly what came out of a mass copier versus what came out of a printer.
Saludos, les habla Simón José Bolívar. Les invito a que me sigan en mi Wii. Parler. Twitter. Instagram. Y por supuesto, en el canal de YouTube. No te olvides de suscribirte al canal, darle me gusta y compartirlo. Muchas gracias.